Control Fund, the NTCA, said the fund will help to reduce the impact of tobacco in the country. Reports say Nigeria is a member of the 182 parties to the World Health Organization Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, who have pledged to take action to reduce the impact of tobacco in their countries. Speaking at a press briefing in Abuja today, the chairman of the group, Oluwafemi Akinbode, said sustainable funding was critical to achieving the objective of the WHO FCTC. According to him, the Federal Ministry of Health, through the Permanent Secretary, who was represented by the National Coordinator, Non-Communicable Disease Division, Dr. Dolapo Sani, promised to make the Tobacco Control Fund fully operational within 1 month. To the Green Chambers now, where the chairman of the House of Representatives Special Ad Hoc Committee on Fuel Consumption, Uzoma Abonta, has said the amount of fuel consumed in parts of the country will determine whether or not to remove subsidy. Abonta spoke when the committee visited Cross River State to compare data on how much fuel has been consumed with the subsidy paid by the federal government. The committee took time to visit at least 7 fuel depots in Calabar and on Varans, comparing data month by month and year by year. According to Abonta, they also came to find out the quantity of petroleum products consumed in the state. The REP members said without knowing the volumes of fuel consumption in the country, it will be difficult to take a decision. He also said that subsidy has bedeviled the country for a while, adding that it is difficult to calculate fuel subsidy. From the judiciary, the Supreme Court today in Abuja cleared the air on the misconception of its judgment on the leadership crisis of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA. The Apex Court said that the judgment delivered on October 14, 2021 was between one Chief Jude Okeke and APGA with 3 other respondents. A statement by the court's Director of Press and Information, Dr. Akonde Festus, said that one Chief Edozie Njoku, who sought to be joined in the appeal, was not joined and therefore not a party to the final judgment that resolved the leadership crisis. The statement warned that any judgment order containing parties different from the parties on record did not emanate from the Supreme Court and should therefore be disregarded. In another development, the ambassador of the Republic of Korea to Nigeria, Kim Yong-chae, has put the trade volume between Nigeria and the Republic of Korea at $2 billion last year after the COVID-19 pandemic. He was speaking at a media briefing during the visit of the President of Korea Africa Foundation, Leo Woon-ki, to Nigeria. The Korean envoy said at the end of the second quarter of 2022, the volume of trade increased by 20%, adding that plans are underway to advance the bilateral ties with Nigeria to involve the supply of military hardware, as well as more investments in the education sector. The foundation's President Woon-ki said the visit was essentially to explore more areas of collaborations between Korea and Nigeria in a bid to positively promote the country and Africa. Away from that, the Minister of Transportation, Muazu Sambo, has assured that within the next 90 days, the ministry will secure accommodation to enable the takeoff of the Regional Maritime Development Bank. The minister spoke when the Secretary-General Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa, Dr. Paul Adaliku, visited him in his office in Abuja. The minister urged the Secretary-General to leverage the organization to push for Nigeria's intent of becoming a member of Category C in the International Maritime Organization. Earlier, Dr. Adaliku explained that the idea of a regional bank was conceived 11 years ago to facilitate single-digit interest loans, to provide freedom to key players in the sector and enable them compete favorably with their international counterparts. Meanwhile, National Information Technology Development Agency NITDA says it has commenced Batch A of STEM Bootcamp for kids between 8 to 11 years old in partnership with the National Center for Artificial Intelligence and Robotics, NCAR, Nigeria. The program is currently taking place simultaneously in Abuja, Kano, and Lagos. In a series of tweets via its verified official Twitter handle, it said the program is in line with the NITDA's Strategic Roadmap and Action Plan, SRAP 2021-2024, which is aimed at catching the children young to enable them be conversant with emerging technologies around the world. The statement said the kids will go through a series of hands-on training in the areas of extended reality, artificial intelligence, robotics and drone technologies, digital communication, and the Internet of Things in a 10-day training period. Elsewhere, the Director General of the Debt Management Office, Patience Oneha, has stated that the National Assembly needs to do its due diligence in the budget process because of the rising debt profile. Oneha made the call today while appearing before the House of Representatives Committee on Finance. Oneha lamented the rising budget deficit, which has forced the government to resort to borrowing. She stated that the debt profile of Nigeria is over 41.6 trillion naira. It could be recalled that the federal government is proposing to borrow 11 trillion naira to fund the 2023 budget. Oneha said the lawmakers must scrutinize the capital and overhead components of the budget to reduce borrowing. In a separate development, the Nigeria Union of Local Government Employees has called on the anti-graft agencies to track the local government allocation in the past 7 years, noting that state governors have continued to divert and misappropriate local government funds. The union renewed its calls for the speedy passage of the Local Government Autonomy Bill, arguing that this would ensure financial independence for the 774 councils in the country and also address the challenges of insecurity and unemployment. Speaking at a press conference in Abuja, the president of NALGE, Ambali Olatunji, cautioned state governors against inducing and conniving with the legislative to stop the passage of the bill. The NALGE boss lamented that only 10 states had passed the Local Government Autonomy Bill and further encouraged the other states to endorse it as quickly as possible. Ahead of the 2023 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has announced the date for the release of the final lists of presidential and governorship candidates. INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu released the dates today during a meeting organized by the Center for Democracy and Development in Abuja, with the theme Conducting Nigeria's 2023 Elections in Volatile Security Environment in Abuja. The INEC boss asked political parties and their candidates to focus on issue-based campaigns. He further explained that the commission was collaborating with security agencies to ensure a peaceful election. So in politics, the national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure, has inaugurated an 11-member diaspora committee to pilot the affairs of its diaspora march. The party chairman explained that the committee became imperative following calls to establish chapters across the country. Abure, while inaugurating the committee in Abuja, said the party has enjoyed overwhelming support from Nigerians across the world and even non-Nigerians alike. Elsewhere, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) has arrested the Speaker of the Ogun State House of Assembly, Olakunle Oluomo. He was arrested this morning at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. Reports say he was picked up by officials of the EFCC to answer questions bordering on alleged financial crimes. Oluomo was taken to the EFCC's Lagos office for further questioning. Meanwhile, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC Ilorin Zonal Command Kwara State has confirmed the arrest of 13 suspected illegal miners operating in Kakaful village in the Patigi local government area of the state. In a statement, the spokesperson for the agency in the state, Ayodele Babatunde, said the suspects were arrested during a joint operation which followed credible intelligence received by the EFCC operatives over some suspected illegal miners operating in the area. Babatunde said 5 trucks fully loaded with different brands of solid minerals were recovered from the suspects. He added that the suspects will soon be charged to court upon the conclusion of the ongoing investigation.
The tonnages of what have been captured with these 5 different trailers that we will be able to see today. It's, when we look at it, because per ton of this particular mineral, it is to the tune of 4,750 per ton. Imagine the number of tons. If it is 1 million tons, if it is 100 tons, now multiply that. So it is in the tens of millions that the nation is losing into the hands of these miscreants. They are to pay double because they were arrested and doing it illegally. So you multiply the number of that particular ton I mentioned, 4,750, multiplied by 4,750, because they are going to pay double per ton of that particular mineral. The tonnages.
Away from that, Controller General of the Nigeria Customs Service, Colonel Hamid Ali, says over 38 million liters of premium motor spirit released in excess of actual consumption into the market finds its way out of the country daily. Ali was speaking at an interactive session with the House of Representatives Committee on Finance on the 2023 to 2025 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and Fiscal Strategy paper. He questioned why the NNPC releases about 98 million liters of petrol into the market daily, when they estimated about 60 million liters as actual daily consumption. The customs boss was reacting to questions from the lawmakers on the proposed subsidy payment for 2022 and the over 11 trillion naira deficit expected. To Lagos State now, where the government will establish the State Tertiary Education Trust Fund to create a financial model that will sustain its universities. The governor made this known when the visitation panel to the Lagos State University LASU presented its report to him at the State House in Marina. Sanwo-Olu said the panel set up on November 16, 2021 was set up to ensure the university management remains focused on performance and has a clean bill on where and what to do. Reports say establishing a tertiary education trust fund was part of the recommendations in the panel's report, especially since the state now has 3 universities to cater for. The governor said there was a need to establish the trust fund to enable the university management stay focused and help the government leave a good legacy in the education sector. So in Lagos State, the government has said defaulters of the ban on commercial motorcycle operators, known as Okada, risk a 3-year jail term as enforcement for the Phase 2 ban that starts tomorrow. The Commissioner for Transport, Frederick Oladende, said this during a news conference in Ikeja, adding that the Phase 2 Okada ban was in 4 local government areas and 6 local government development councils. The Commissioner said 200 officials of the Lagos Traffic Management Authority had been deployed to join other security agencies to enforce the ban in the councils. He said the motorcycles will be impounded and crushed in public view, in line with the provision of the Transport Sector Reform Law 2018, and that the move is to ensure security of lives and property. Back here, parents have been advised to bring forth the number of children they can cater for to avoid raising vulnerable children who conditioned by lack and hardship and will fall prey to promises of better life elsewhere while becoming victims of abduction, trafficking and prostitution. Speaking with Spectrum Television on the major cause of human trafficking, the NABTIP commander in Akwa Ibom State, Tina Ugu, said most victims of human trafficking were children from parents who could not take proper care of them.
Thank you. Ever since I resumed work here in NABTIP, we've done a lot of public enlightenment programs, sensitizing the public on the dangers of human trafficking. We've gone to churches, we've gone to motor parks, we've gone to schools, we've gone to communities, rural areas to enlighten them and educate them on the dangers of human trafficking. We've also had collaborative activities in the fight against human trafficking with law enforcement agencies in the state here. First of all, parents should have the number of children they can cater for, the society as a whole. Church leaders, mothers, fathers, the society as a whole should frown at people having children out of wedlock. They should frown at it, because we found out the bulk of the victims of human trafficking are children born out of wedlock. So there is no proper parental care. Nobody cares for them. They just do what they want to. Nobody cares. Nobody asks them any question. So such children, they sell. Most of them, they sell them outright selling. Most of them, they go into the people come to deceive them and take them away to be exploited elsewhere. So people should learn to have the number of children they can cater for. The society should frown off having children out of wedlock.
Still to come in the news. Pound in biggest monthly fall against the dollar since 2016. Do stay with us.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you, your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Thanks for staying tuned. Moving on now to South Africa, where the health minister has warned that it is not up to ordinary citizens to enforce the country's immigration law. Joe Fowler was visiting a hospital in Pretoria where protesters from the controversial group Operation Dudula have been trying to stop foreign nationals from getting treatment. Operation Dudula has been accused of xenophobia, but its members say foreign nationals are putting a strain on the country's health system. Fowler told journalists that the growing number of people from neighboring countries and as far away as India were coming to South Africa for treatment. He said if that continued, South Africa would reach a stage where it could not cope. Lawyers representing Ivorian activists Pulcheri Barlett have denounced her latest detention as a plot to silence her. The arrests follow a trip to Mali where 49 Ivorian soldiers have been detained since July 10. The Ivorian prosecution accused Barlett of colluding with foreign agents with the aim of discrediting the state. Pulcheri Barlett's lawyer, Eric Saki, denounced the accusation. Still in Africa, a former member of Malawi's Electoral Commission has been sentenced to 18 months in prison for failing to give way to a presidential convoy 2 years ago. A court in the eastern city of Zumba found Linda Kunje guilty of instructing her driver to disregard police instructions to make way for a motorcade of the then newly elected President Lazarus Chakwera. The driver, Jones Tawesa, was also found guilty of the same offense and will serve 15 months in prison. Kunje oversaw the 2019 presidential election, which was annulled by the country's constitutional court because of irregularities, including the use of a correction fluid to tweak results. Recall that 3 years ago, police arrested an ambulance driver for not giving way to the former president's convoy, but he was released without charge following a public outcry. Meanwhile, the lawyers for the chairperson of Kenya's Electoral Commission have mounted a spirited defense at the Supreme Court hearing on the challenges to the presidential election result. Chairperson Wafula Chebukati had been accused of violating the Constitution and electoral law during the declaration of the election results. Appearing before a 7-judge bench, lawyers have told the court that Chebukati was mandated by law to announce the results. They described the petition challenging Chebukati as a witch hunt and full of speculation because no evidence had been presented to support the allegations. While admitting that there were a few errors, the Electoral Commission lawyers insist that the election was conducted according to the law and there were no sufficient grounds to warrant a nullification of the result. On the foreign scene, UN inspectors today arrived at the Russian-controlled Zaporizhia nuclear plant. This is according to Ukraine state nuclear company Energoatom. The much-awaited arrival of the IAEA team was delayed for several hours due to increased military activity as Russia and Ukraine accused each other of shelling near the site. In a related development, the International Atomic Energy Agency IAEA's visit to the Russian-occupied Zaporizhia nuclear power plant will be successful if it leads to the plant's demilitarization. This is according to the head of Ukraine's state nuclear company, Rafael Grossi, who stated this to newsmen in an interview. He said Ukraine was also making efforts to switch the plant's 5th reactor back on after it shut down due to shelling early today. Grossi said he saw what he needed to see at the Zaporizhia nuclear plant, adding that the IAEA team would be staying at the site. Meanwhile, Russia has launched week-long war games involving forces from China and other nations in a show of growing defense cooperation between Moscow and Beijing. The Vostok 2022 drills that started today came amid Russia's all-out war in Ukraine, which began on February 24, while both Russia and China face tensions with the United States. An analyst of Nanyang Technological University in Singapore, Graham ONG Webb, told reporters that the scale of the military drills held this year was bigger compared with previous years. He said it was a signal that the two countries will cooperate and coordinate on military affairs. The analyst said several ex-Soviet nations, China, India, Laos, Mongolia, Nicaragua, and Syria are taking part in the drills, which are scheduled to end on September 7. Away from that, Red Cross officials have failed to secure access to Ukrainian prisoners of war held in the Russian-controlled town of Olenivka in the Donetsk region. The head of the that killed prisoners held by Moscow-backed separatists. International Committee of the Red Cross Director General Robert Madini told reporters in Kiev that the group was engaged in intense negotiations with Russian authorities, but had not been granted access to those prisoners and also lacked security guarantees to carry out such a visit. Away from that, French President Emmanuel Macron has pledged to keep up France's humanitarian, economic and military support to Ukraine and to bolster European unity. He said this was a way to pile pressure on Russia and prevent it from winning the war. Macron said in a speech to French ambassadors at the Élysée presidential palace that the world could not let Russia militarily win the war. He set the goal of enabling Ukraine to either win militarily or be put in a strong position to achieve a negotiated peace. Elsewhere, Israel's President Isaac Herzog is to attend a memorial next week for 11 Israelis killed in an attack at the 1972 Olympic Games in Munich. Herzog's participation alongside his German counterpart Frank-Walter Steinmeier follows Berlin striking a compensation deal with relatives of the Israeli victims. Palestinian gunmen from the Black September militant group snuck into the Olympic Village on September 5, 1972, and immediately killed 2 members of the Israeli team. Away from that, United Nations Human Rights Office has released a long-delayed and damning report into conditions for the Uyghur ethnic minority in China's northwestern Xinjiang Autonomous Region. The report details serious rights abuse against Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities in Xinjiang and states that such treatment by China may amount to crimes against humanity. The 45-page report released by the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights found that serious violations had been committed in Xinjiang under China's application of measures to counter terrorism and extremism. China has described the UN report as a farce. Defending its policies towards the Uyghurs, China's permanent mission to the UN in Geneva attached a 131-page response document. Now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. We have Blyden Ukem standing by.
Thank you, Xavier Roberts. Good evening. It's a nice business Thursday. My name is Blyden Ukem. In the news, we begin with the FX market. Pounds seem to be in the biggest monthly fall against the dollar since 2016. Worries over the prospects for the UK economy led the pounds to slide by about 5% against the US dollar in August. The last time the pound fell so much against the dollar was in October 2016, in the aftermath of the Brexit votes. Sterling fell again, dipping below 1.1x the darkening outlook for the economy, with consumers and business facing rising prices and soaring energy bills. The Bank of England has predicted the UK will fall into recession towards the end of the year. Meanwhile, the weak pound means Brits traveling overseas will find their spending power limited. In Nigeria, Nigeria's capital importation fell by 2.4% in the second quarter of 2022. The total value of the capital importation into Nigeria in the second quarter of the year fell to $1.53 billion from $1.57 billion in the preceding quarter, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. NBS reported that the figure represents a 2.4% decline. The NBS said the largest amount of capital importation was received through portfolio investment, which accounted for 49.33%. By country of origin, the United Kingdom ranked top as the source of capital imported into Nigeria in the second quarter of 2022, with a value of $781.05 million, accounting for 50.87%, followed by Singapore and the Republic of South Africa, respectively. By investment destination, Lagos State remained the top destination in the second quarter of 2022 with over $1 billion, accounting for 68.66% of total capital investment into Nigeria, followed by the FCT Abuja. By bank, Citibank Nigeria Limited ranked highest in the second quarter of 2022 with $450.94 million, a 29.37%, followed by Standard Chartered Bank Nigeria Limited and Stanbic IBTC Bank PLC, according to reports. Buhari appoints his brother-in-law, Ahmed Haliu, to head Nigeria's currency printing company. Ahmed Haliu, the elder brother to the First Lady, Aisha Buhari, has been appointed as the managing director of Nigerian Security Printing and Minting Company, NSPMC. Haliu has been heading NSPMC, which prints Naira, in an acting capacity since May 16, 2022, following the resignation of Abbas Masanawa before President Muhammad Buhari made the appointment permanent. Masanawa had resigned in compliance with the President's directive that his appointees seeking elective offices should resign on or before May 16, 2022. Masanawa contested as one of the governorship aspirants of Katsina State under the All Progressive Congress APC, but eventually lost. Meanwhile, Halilu's appointment was backed by the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, who is the chairman of NSPMC, according to reports. Halilu, a member of Nigerian Institute of Management, NIM, had worked with African. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. At the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 229.12 million shares in 3,575 deals, corresponding to a market value of 1.74 billion naira, were traded. The benchmark all-share index inched up 53.37 basis points to close at 49,889.88 points. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 26.9 trillion naira. Compared with yesterday's trading day, today's data shows 38% decline in volume, 46% decline in turnover, and 4% decline in deals. In the aggregate, 102 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 14 gainers and 13 losers. Parma-Deco led the gainers with 7.43% share price appreciation, closing at 1 naira 88 kobo per share. On the losing side, Mutual Benefit Assurance came at last with an end-of-day price appreciation of 9.38% at 29 kobo per share. Sterling Bank recorded the highest volume of 109 million traded shares for a second trading day. A happy new month to you. This is all on business news. This day with Xavier Robert for the rest of the news. Thank you, Xavier Roberts. Good evening. It's a nice business.
Many thanks, Blyden. Still to come in the news. PGA Tour tables plans for Global Series to focus on elevated events. You stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, more than 50,000 monkeypox cases have reportedly been recorded in the global outbreak. Figures from the World Health Organization have shown slow transmissions in the virus hotspots of Europe and the United States. WHO's dashboard has listed 50,496 cases and 16 deaths this year for the UN agency. The WHO chief Tedros Ghebreyesus says the declines in the infections prove that the outbreak could be brought to a halt. Still in health, the World Health Organization WHO has announced an article update released by the WHO. Over 598 million confirmed cases and over 6,004,000 deaths have been reported globally since the start of the pandemic. In Nigeria, 263,526 cases of infections have been reported by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) since the start of the pandemic. Despite this, the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency says only 40 million Nigerians had been reached with either a dose or 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine.
Where we are now seeing a welcome decline, in reported deaths globally. However, with colder weather approaching in the northern hemisphere, it's reasonable to expect an increase in hospitalizations and deaths in the coming months. Subvariants of Omicron are more transmissible than their predecessors, and the risk of even more transmissible and more dangerous variants remains. Meanwhile, vaccination coverage among the most at-risk people remains too low, especially in low-income countries. Finally, to monkeypox. In the Americas, which accounts for more than half of reported cases, several countries continue to see increasing numbers of infections, although it's encouraging to see a sustained downward trend in Canada. Some European countries, including Germany and the Netherlands, are also seeing a clear slowing of the outbreak, demonstrating the effectiveness of public health interventions and community engagement to track infections and prevent.
It's over now to Bright James for trending sports stories.
Thank you, Xavier Robert. Good evening and welcome to the Sports Desk. I'll begin with golf, where the PGA Tour is tabling its plans to stage a global series of 3 events that would have included its top players competing for purses worth as much as $25 million. The PGA Tour announced August 1st that the top 50 players in the FedEx Cup point standings, as well as top performers from an undetermined number of fall events, would compete in 3 international tournaments that would include limited fields and no cuts. At that time, the tour did not announce dates and locations for the global event. The tour would instead focus its efforts on 13 tournaments with elevated purses for top players, which would include the 3 FedEx Cup playoff events, Century Tournament of Champions, Genesis Invitational, and All Palmer Invitational, the Players Memorial Tournament, WGC Dell Technologies Match Play, and 4 additional events that will rotate through existing PGA Tour tournaments. Elsewhere, Nairo Quintana has launched an appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sports against the decision to disqualify him from the 2022 Tour de France for drug infringement. Analysis of 2 blood samples from the 32-year-old showed the presence of banned drug. The Colombian rider was stripped of his overall 6th place finish, and he later denied using the substance. The Arceus Samsic rider is not competing in the ongoing Vuelta a España, an event he won in 2016, as he wanted to lodge an appeal to CAS. However, he confirmed he would return to the race calendar at the end of the season. Quintana, who won the Giro d'Italia in 2014 and finished 2nd in the Tour de France in 2013, and 2015 is still eligible to participate in the Tour de France, as it was the first offence. Now, the football transfers where Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang will be joining Chelsea in a €14 million deal that will see Marcos Alonso go the opposite direction. The Gabonese is expected to fly into London around 5 p.m. to put pen to paper on a 2-year deal with an option to extend for 1 more year. Alonso, who has been chased all summer by Barca, was included in the deal and is also expected to undergo his medical and sign a 3-year deal at Barcelona. Aubameyang suffered a minor fracture of his jaw in an attack on his home over the weekend. The Gabon international will be out of action for 3 weeks, but Chelsea have overlooked that and proceeded with his signing. Elsewhere, Nigerian defender Semilogo Ajayi faces a lengthy spell out after sustaining an injury while in action for West Brom. On Tuesday, the defender underwent a scan yesterday after limping over the first half of the Baggies 1-1 draw at Wigan in the Championship, having made an error for the Lactics opener at the DW Stadium. Their fears the setback could be severe. West Brom manager Steve Bruce admits Ajayi's injury does not look good. Ajayi is impressed overall for the Baggies this term, but Bruce is now prepared for the worst, and the defender's prognosis after revealing that a Nigerian international hurt his knee and ankle in an innocuous incident with no Wigan player close to him. And that's all we have time from the sports desk for you this evening. I am Bright James. Over now to Peter Bryan for Entertainment News.
Thanks, Bright James. Hello and welcome to the Entertainment Desk. I am Beto Bryan. First on our bulletin this evening, Burna Boy reveals he is working on Love Damini, the deluxe version. Nigerian Grammy-winning sensation Damini Ogulu, better known as Burna Boy, has revealed that he is working on the deluxe version of his latest album, Love Damini. Today, Thursday, 1st September 2022, Burna Boy took to his verified Twitter account to reveal that he is working on the album. In the tweet, Burna Boy said, and I quote, "Working on this deluxe," which instantly got fans excited. The news of the deluxe comes as a shock, as Burna Boy isn't the type of artist to release a deluxe. Aside from his debut album, Leaving an Impact for Eternity, LIFE, none of his subsequent 4 albums got a deluxe. Love Damini, which is his 6th studio album, is a 19-track album, and the deluxe could further increase the number. Burna's intention to release the deluxe could have been motivated by the desire to give fans some new music, especially as there has been some of the singles that did not make the album. It also probably motivated on another end by a desire to further increase the album's commercial appeal. Songs like Last Last could have a remix, which Burna Boy hinted might be a UK remix, with UK Nigerian rapper Dave sending him a verse. The announcement of Love Damini Deluxe could mean that they would be getting a remix for singles which have enjoyed massive commercial success. In our next story, Tim Godfrey celebrates being healed from paralysis. Nigerian gospel singer Tim Godfrey has celebrated this new miraculous revelation. The music star took to his Instagram page on Wednesday, August 31st, 2022, where he shared a lengthy message on how he was diagnosed with aging bones and spines and has gotten miraculously healed. He posted a picture saying he was admitted in the hospital, and it started with him feeling some pain at his back that was kind of a hellish pain in his arms. He also revealed he proceeded to go for an MRI scan, and the scientist told him that his bones were 20 years older than his age, which means that his bones were over 60 years old while he was still in his 40s. Godfrey is a Nigerian gospel singer with several hit songs and is a founder and owner of the record label Rocks Nation, and also a founder of Extreme Crew. Lastly, from the Entertainment Desk this evening, Africa Star X debuts first sports reality TV show. Announcements calling for entries. The reality show is a fusion of sports, lifestyle, and entertainment, focusing on basketball in this season. Africa Star X has announced the call for entries of its first of its kind sports reality TV show, set to launch in the last quarter of the year. In a press unveiling which held in Ikeja, Lagos on August 30, 2022, Benjamin Peters, Africa Star X MD, revealed details of the reality show, saying the best team gets a cash reward of 10 million naira, 2.5 million naira for the most valuable player, a management deal, and a contract for international tryouts, and one participant also gets a college scholarship. And that's our package from the entertainment desk this evening. I am Beta Brian, thanking you for watching and wishing you a happy new month. Over.
Well, that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, wishing you a happy new month. Good night.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.